All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, and tonight we are not going to be streaming with Death and Taxes. We're actually going to be streaming with Blue-White Spirits. For those of you who jumped in like the last 30 seconds, when I started the stream, the title was wrong, and I fixed it immediately. Orcish Lumberjack was actually last stream. That's available in my Twitch replays or on my YouTube page as well. My bad there. I didn't catch myself until after I already hit the start stream button, so that's on me. I'm doing well. I'm prepared for what's gonna happen tonight. Invisible Skelly Bro is actually not invisible. He's actually just sleeping in the bed in the next room. So whenever I have a guest, he's gonna spook them real bad probably. So that'll be great. Skelebro might come back for another stream sometime. People seem to like him. The clip was pretty popular. Alright, so tonight's deck list is a donation deck list courtesy of Nicholas K., who wanted to see some blue-white spirits. So the original version of the deck that at least I saw and that he submitted was by D-Nose Jones. And then someone else, like that same week, made a couple of additions and changes and made a decent run in the Legacy Challenge. And that was Ultimar, who got 21st place in the Legacy Challenge on the 28th. So what I've done is I've kind of taken the two deck lists and like mashed together the things that I liked about them into one deck list. So I'm just trying to think about where I want to start with this. Okay, so we are essentially an almost spirit tribal deck. I say almost because we have Thalia, because, well, we know this. Thalia's just really good, right? Like, that is just a card that we want to jam in any Aether Vial deck. It just plays so well with that general strategy. So other than Thalia, let me just confirm, yep. Other than Thalia, we're all spirits all the time. And there's some degree of synergy between the spirits. So notably, Mausoleum Wanderer gets +1/+1 whenever another spirit enters the battlefield. Rattle Chains gives your spirits flash and can give a spirit hexproof when you cast it. It also has flash, which is neat. Supreme Phantom is a lord, an odd 1/3 lord in terms of size, but a lord nonetheless. Drogskull Captain is a lord that gives hexproof. And Kira is a spirit that's going to protect everything, including itself, although it's a sort of a little bit awkward with the one of Jitte, and that is what it is. So, yeah, the deck looks sweet. I have some worries, well, but I'll do the whole deck check, and then I'll say what my primary concern is. So I made minimal changes to the main deck. I think I cut one Swords to Plowshares for a second copy of one of the creatures. I just kind of felt, I think it was Remorseful Cleric. I kind of felt like a second Remorseful Cleric might be a good idea. There's a lot of like graveyard-based decks running around right now. And I moved up to the full 4 Cavern of Souls, I think cutting 2 other lands. I think one of them was Island number 3, and the other might have been a fetch. So, like, why would you play this deck? What are we looking to do? So essentially, I'm going to move the sideboard way off for a second. Essentially, there's a couple different types of cards in this deck. There are the sort of cards that are hateful and disruptive. Then there's the cards that are protective. And then there's kind of like some generic lords and other cards to round it out. You know, these 5 creatures here are kind of like the beater slots, because this one's just a naked lord, and this thing is just really, really annoying for control decks to answer. So essentially, we have 15 different disruptive creatures, 10 different creatures that go and help to protect our other creatures. I guess like 14 if you count just like potentially getting them out of like some -1, -1 range or something like that. But the idea is off of Ether Vial, which is an extremely broken card, you dump in a whole lot of creatures, and together their hateful synergy will win you games. Yeah, like, if you look at this pile of stuff is really cheap, right? Like, this is mostly a modern deck. Almost all of these cards are like modern legal, right? Maybe all of them. We don't get Swords to Plowshares. All the rest of this stuff is fair game. So, like, this is very much a legacy port of a modern deck. And that's kind of one thing I'm a little bit worried about, but more on that in a minute. Alright, Jitte, and Swords. You know, lands aside, because, you know, it's Legacy. You get to play sweet lands. I made small adjustments to the sideboard from the submitted list. Kind of like, conceptually, I decided that in the sideboard, I'd probably want Graveyard Hate, I'd probably want some anti-combo stuff, and that's kind of what I'm gearing heavily for. My thought is that I'll more or less like roll some fair decks, just because like my creatures are going to be big and hard to answer relatively easily. So I don't have too much for fair stuff. I kind of have like these 4 cards as like generic fair things to bring in. Otherwise, some combination of counterspells and Graveyard Hate seems to be good. It's possible that I should have like a couple more generic cards in here, like Pithing Needle, just so I can sub out my cards that are bad. But I feel like this is the sort of deck where, unless I'm playing against combo, just kind of like the built-in synergies of my deck are more or less where I want to be. All right, so here's my worry about this deck. I'm a little worried that this deck might end up being bad Merfolk. And I hate Merfolk. I'm not sure how consistently disruptive this deck will be in comparison to something like D&T. Like, D&T has Waste, Port, Thalia, Revokers, you know, Sanctum Prelate, like a whole bunch of various disruptive things, and it's kind of like very consistently disruptive. And some of the disruptive cards in this deck are a little more hit or miss. So like Remorseful Cleric and Spirit of the Labyrinth, those are sometimes very hateful and other times not. Spellqueller is a great disruptive card, you know, it's essentially a counterspell on a creature, but it's slow. Similarly, Mausoleum Wanderer, like, that only can get instants and sorceries, so if you're playing against a creature-based deck, whatever, it's pretty medium. So I'm worried that this might be, like, less aggressive and have worse mana than Merfolk does, while not quite being as disruptive as D&T. So I feel like this deck might end up being a deck that, like, tries to do a couple of different things, but ultimately doing the 2 things at a medium rate isn't better than, like, having the hyper-aggression of something like Slivers or Merfolk, and not having quite as much interaction as D&T. But we'll see if that's actually true. That's kind of like my thought going into this league. I've only played like 1 or 2 matches with this deck before, so I have a relatively fresh outlook, and we'll see how this goes. I'm hopeful, but skeptical going into this league. Nicholas K., let's see how spirits go. Oh, so earlier today I got a 5-0 with 4-color Loam. I've been messing around with that. I had Tuesday off for election day, and I just played 3 Loam leagues. It was great. That was a fun day. I like voted, ate, went to the gym, played Loam for hours on end, caught some Pokemon, and then went out to dinner. Perfect day, basically. Last go, I actually played against Arclight Phoenix yesterday. I beat it with 4-color Loam. That deck did some interesting things. I'm interested to see where that deck goes, but I don't really know that it actually will go anywhere. Oh man, this guy is playing a really sweet deck. So it looks like my opponent is going to be playing like a conceptually similar deck to what I wanted to do, where it's like a reanimator deck that can also just play a control deck role. This is really cool. I'm going to go ahead and keep my hand. My opponent has mulligan. I'm hoping that Mausoleum Wanderer will be fine against like the reanimator portion of their hand if they're going that route, and that I can like use these two cards to leverage against the control portion of their deck. Last go, like, the deck was neat. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't know what they were doing for a little while. The stream title has been updated, Lord Darkview. I just updated the name of the stream like 10 seconds after I started the stream, so if you refresh, you'll probably get the name correctly. Opponent has like just played out this brainstorm. Like this very well could be bait, but my opponent has mulligan. They didn't play a turn 1 spell. You still get the same thing? That's weird. I'm gonna nab this brainstorm. Oh yeah, it didn't refresh properly. Alright. Let's refresh it again. Blue-white. Alright. So Legacy with blue-white spirits. Update. Thank you for letting me know. I'm gonna refresh myself here. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you kind of have to like take care of on the logistics end of starting up a stream. This isn't actually as bad as it looks for me, because both Kira and Drog Skull Captain are somewhat resilient to this. So I'm actually going to play Kira first, because like it already counters the Liliana activation. And then when I play Drog Skull Captain next turn, it will become hexproof and I can attack in for 3. Whereas if I play Drog Skull Captain this turn, like I Liliana minus and like my opponent Liliana pluses on it, and then I'm attacking in for 0. Awkwardly, Caracas doesn't do a great job of protecting Kira. No shuffle with the ponder. We are super flooded here. So I believe this deck has 22 lands. Yeah, 22 lands. So we're playing one or two fewer lands than D&T does. And that's okay because we don't have as many mana sinks as D&T does. Like, we don't have nearly as much equipment, and, you know, we don't have as many cards like Recruiter that are just getting us more copies of cards. Yeah, I'll take that. Baleful Strix is pretty annoying. Alright. I can't kill Liliana here. It'll go up to 4 next turn. I might not even be able to kill it then. Could attack with Kira and Drog Skull Captain. My opponent blocks Kira, I just... No, I can't block it with Caracas. That wouldn't really work. Yeah. I guess I'm just passing here after playing out Spirit. Hey, if you can identify mistakes that you made that will help you not to make those same mistakes in the future, then, like, you had a worthwhile tournament. Alright, Drog Skull Captain dies, so be it. It occurs. Man, having no ability to punch through Baleful Strix is awful. And I can't just, like, throw away Kira or this Liliana is going to take over the game. I mean... This is brutal. Maybe I'm supposed to just bite the bullet and attack everything at Liliana. My opponent would trade Snapcaster for Spirit. Man, I should have just let Deep Analysis resolve. My opponent wasn't gonna draw any cards anyway. As a punt on my end. Yeah, like, I have nothing to do here. Like, this feels so bad. Like, I know I'm flooding very badly. And that's, like, part of my problem here. But it's not all of it. Still don't really... I have 2 plows that I can draw, or 3 plows that I can draw towards. I'll be willing to make the attack next turn if need be. Alright, so what if I send just everything at Liliana now? That probably takes care of my problem. And then I can just, like, easily go through in the air and finish them off. It's possible that I should just go at them and ignore the Liliana, but if something goes wrong, that Liliana emblem is really annoying to try to beat as a fair deck. This is fine. So now I have a 2-turn clock worth of damage. My opponent can now start cantripping again. And, you know, it's unclear how many cantrips are actually in their hand versus, like, how many, like, other cards they were sitting on. Alright. So that was Entomb to shuffle. Opponent puts a Grave Titan into the yard. This deck can't beat Baleful Strix. This card is so good. Yeah, this is the Control Reanimator deck. Well, I guess that's not the worst. That beats Astrix. Note, I can't just, like, bounce my Kira because, like, my Caracas activation would get countered. Great, another one of those. I'm hoping to draw a Lord so that I can just... Oh god, just fucking getting Strix back. This is miserable. How do I still have more lands left in my deck? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 lands. Alright. So, if I attack in with everything, what does my opponent kill? Kira. If Kira dies, I still have Drog Skull Captain to protect. I guess that's fine. I need to take this Liliana off the table. It's a problem. Like, it turns on their other removal spells a bit more, and it's just going to keep returning Strix if I don't try to kill it. I think I accept that Kira has had a good run and just let it go. Opponent just hanging out. Gonna do something, maybe. They don't really have anything to think about here. So I don't know what's up. I guess in the meantime, I can sit here and, like, shake my phone, and using the Adventure Sync thing on Pokemon Go, I can get some extra distance. That's neat, right? It's cool functionality, great use of my time on stream. Please, chat, give me something to talk about. I'm running out of ideas. Bring out Skelebro and start waltzing. I don't know if Skelebro knows how to waltz. That hasn't come up in casual conversation yet. Splash Black in D&D for Bob and Thoughtseize. So splashing for Bob or something like Orzhok Pontiff is totally reasonable, but just like mathematically speaking, trying to splash like 1-mana black disruption spells that are not creatures is super, super loose in D&T. I actually had someone write an article for my website about how hard that was. We just like never play anywhere near enough black sources for like Thoughtseize to be viable. Thoughts about insufficient shuffle warnings from the Sneak and Show player at Eternal Weekend Top 8. No thoughts about it. I didn't really watch a ton of the Eternal Weekend coverage. I essentially like watched the coverage that Cyrus was in, and that was it. Yes, I've played against the Antiquities Wars deck. It's quite good. Like it's so much better than I thought it was going to be. So we'll send both Kira and Drogskull at Liliana to guaranteed kill it, and we're going to lose our Kira here. Like, I guess there's a hypothetical world where they block the Spell Queller to get the cards from Deep Analysis, but I don't know that that's actually a good idea. I hope my opponent thinks I'm just, like, sitting on infinite counterspells or something and then doesn't try to do anything cool. Alright, so as expected, Kira is going here. So note that if I try to target this with Karakas, it is just going to get countered, so I can't actually bounce this. Yeah. Now if my opponent has another removal spell, I'm just shit out of luck. Animate Dead on Grave Titan. Yeah, that's bad. I can potentially race this. Fuck! I just informed my opponent that I'm very tired of that fucking bird. But I didn't say fucking, because I'm a gentleman. Yeah, this is very jarring after playing like 20 rounds with Loam in the past 2 days. Rest in peace. Yes. Extra swords to plowshares for fucking bird. Yes. Armageddon. I don't know, probably. Hate. Containment Priest is probably fine as well. So, like, the weird thing is that, like, most of my cards are probably fine against this deck. But, like, we super flooded out, and there wasn't a ton that I could do about it. I could even go, like, Disenchant levels of deep, because, like, Disenchant will blow up, like, Bitter Blossom and Strix and Animate Dead, so this actually is not insane either. I probably won't play it. And similarly, I don't know that I want to go Surgical Deep for the Reanimator side of the deck. I think I want to play cards that are more generically good. But these are in the pile of cards that I'd consider. Ooh, Lasco, let me think about that for a minute. That's a really good question. I feel like Supreme Phantom is probably the weakest of my lords, since it doesn't have any extra functionality. I feel like Geist of St. Traft is likely to just get stonewalled by Strix. Mausoleum Wanderer seems medium. Maybe Armageddon is too deep. Maybe these cards are too deep. I don't know. Like, my opponent's likely to play a relatively controlling game. And if I feel like if I just get in them, they probably die. Like, the whole Reanimator thing is the secondary aspect of that deck. The primary role is control, and Geddon crushes control. So I should probably get this in here. Maybe I'll pull, like, a Mausoleum Wanderer for it. When I'm on the draw, I'll play Surgical Extraction. And I probably won't surgically extract anything real. I'll probably get angry and just, like, fucking rip all the Baleful Strixes out of their goddamn deck. I mean, what? So close. Well, this is awful. Awful, 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 awful. But this is a hand I'm gonna keep. Like, I'm gonna play Thalia on turn 2 and I hope that it's hyper disruptive. I don't really expect to beat this deck anyway. Oh, great. There goes the Thalia. My hand is poop. Come on, more other Thalia off the top. I accept. I think this qualifies as more other Thalia. Opponent says, well, I guess I need to never play a creature. So, those disenchants sounding slightly better now. I'm thinking about that tribal question. Like, the tribe that I mess around with the most is, like, God damn it. How am I supposed to do anything against this deck? It has it all. Until my opponent puts a way to win in play, like, I'm going to continue playing. With 4 Swords to Plowshares, I can buy a lot of time. 3 Swords to Plowshares. Alright, that plus Liliana. I feel like we're donezo here. Yeah. Yeah, this is fine. We're done here. Let's move on. I'm not gonna tilt myself after the first round by just playing this out. That seems poor. So other tribes that I've conceptually wanted to play with, but like haven't had the time to mess around with. You can probably build a pretty sick like wizard tribal Ether Vial deck with like patron wizard to counter all the things. So that's viable. Like if I was gonna sit down and play a tribal deck, like the answer is just humans. Like humans and slivers are probably like the best like tribal decks in Legacy, you know. Sorry, like tribal Ether Vial decks, which is like what I would want to be playing. And like something like elves otherwise is one of the best tribal decks. Yeah, like most of the established tribes are already good, right? Like you could try to make a zombie tribal deck and probably build something decent. Like Zombardment is somewhat close to that. Otherwise, you have like Minotaurs. You get Didgeridoo as another Ether Vial. Yeah, I don't know. All right, I have a reasonable hand. Are we just going to play against Loam and get bullied by a good deck? Because it feels like that's what's going to happen. Nope, we're going to get bullied by lands instead. Please don't have the Loam, too. Fuck. We're not going to win a single game this whole league. So, excuse me, chat. Fuck. We're gonna get, like, Wasteland Ghost Quarter locked. Yeah, I would probably rather be playing Merfolk, because then I'd have more islands to protect myself with. I've only got 3 basics in here. So, like, the good news is that I have a spirit. Oh, jeez! Why? Why? Thank God opponent didn't just, like, start ghost quartering me. That would be so bad for me. Oh, man. Oh, man. I can Spell Queller this Loam away. That's the answer. That's how I do this. Okay. So I'll do that next turn. Everything's okay. I don't really want to play out another card here. I just want to play out this other vial and just, like, leave myself with the greatest degree of flexibility that I can. It's a little buddy. Look at him, he's so cute. Opponent, why did you have to do that? Now I can't spell Color the Loam this turn. I'm gonna have to wait another turn. I guess I take out this. Oh shit, there's the stage. I'll lose this game because my opponent wastelanded me at the end step instead of just letting me go and do cool things. I guess I can counter this Loam. Like, I can Violin Mausoleum Warder, then Violin Supreme Phantom, turn Mausoleum Wanderer into a 3/3, counter that unless they pay 3. But because of Riftstone Portal, they can pay that. So they could pay 3, then play Stage and Other Land, and still copy that. So they are going to produce the 20/20. So I'll just let that occur. That's fine. And so instead, I'll Violin Mausoleum Wanderer and Selfless Spirit. Opponent reading all of my Legacy staple cards. Flicker Wisp would be real good in this deck. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I don't play this out yet. I play this out once they make the Merit Lodge. So I take no attacks here. My opponent will create a Death Machine. And I might actually be able to steal this one away. Alright. Opponent makes a Death Machine. So opponent will dredge back the Loam, and I will Spell Queller that to the Shadow Realm. Then I'll bounce the token, and I'll be attacking for a lot in the air. I have so many Trixies. So I can block all 3 of these, sack my Selfless Spirit, and get rid of 2 of my opponent's land. Or I could try to keep the Selfless Spirit around to prevent, like, double Punishing Fire from going and killing some of my other stuff. But I have a second Spell Queller for a Punishing Fire on any turn except this one. I can block this here, put this here, put this here. Okay. Everything's indestructible. To the Shadow Realm with you! This is exciting. Potentia, we got bullied real hard in the first round. But I think we're turning the corner here, and I think we are the bully now. It feels like I'm the bully, at least. Alright, opponent has another Dark Depths. But the advantage bar favors me. Just gonna go and do that now. I'm just going to hold up Spell Queller rather than put in the Captain. I know I can push more damage this turn if I put in the Captain. But my opponent's pretty dead unless they hit something absolutely insane. Gamble can go to hell. That just gets another life from the loam. Wow, did not expect to win that one. Go, Spirits, go. Alright. So I want Rest in Peace. I want Surgical. I'll probably play Armageddon. Would consider Swords to Plowshares and Disenchant as well. I don't think I want to try to fight on, like, the Force Fluster route. So this doesn't seem like the best Jitte matchup. Isn't the best Spirit of the Labyrinth matchup. It's not a great Thalia matchup either. I mean, if you're playing against, like, a fair deck that is largely based on the ground, your Flyers can just, like, very quickly dominate a game if you have the Jitte. Alright. So, like, the Thalias can be good against, like, the Punishing Fire Life from the Loam stuff. Maybe I'm supposed to play the Thalias on the play and not on the draw. It's a disruptive card that can kind of, like, mess with some of my opponent's engine, but it doesn't actually like stop either of them particularly well. Like Loam eventually overpowers Thalia, Punishing Fire kills a Thalia, and then like they go on and do their thing. What would I play over Thalia? Or like what would I take out for Thalia? Like Mausoleum Wanderer? But Mausoleum Wanderer like gets pumped by the other lords and can counter an early Loam so that I can extract it. I guess that's a fringe scenario where that matters. I'm going to ship it like this. I'm not sure on the Thalias. So I get 3 pieces of additional graveyard hate plus the 2 that I already had. This is a tough hand. I don't really have any early plays, which is problematic. I can't interrupt what my opponent is doing immediately, but Spellqueller can shut off like a Loam engine, and I do have Armageddon, which is pretty darn good. So like, do I want to throw back my hand that has Geddon? Chat, what do you think about this one? I lean towards Mulligan. But I think this is close. I just think with the Scry, I have a better chance of hitting one of like 5 pieces of graveyard hate and having a more relevant hand. Well, they can't go super fast, but the issue is that they might get set up and pull very far ahead in those first 2 turns where I'm not doing anything. I'm mulligan. Well, the good news is that I have a play. I have an Aether Vial. The bad news is I can't cast spells. The second vial is medium. I really just want to find a white source to be able to play this Rest in Peace early on. I'm going to bottom this, assuming that I will find a land for, like, casting my other spells. That is a land, yes. That doesn't cast Rest in Peace, though, which is awkward. Or Armageddon. Yep, goodbye, Wasteland. You have the Loam? Nope. Fuck me! Alright. Super punished for sending that other vial to the bottom. But opponent's out of things to do, so I got that going for me. So super awkwardly, my opponent probably just has like another Krosan Grip if they're not doing anything else with their mana. So I expect to play this Rest in Peace and for it to immediately get Krosan Gripped. For basically no value. But I could be wrong. My opponent could be sitting on like gambles or that they can't cast or like crop rotations or something. Well, that's some sick value. Oh, great, it's Tireless Tracker coming out to play. Ugh. So it was going to be my plan to, like, run Geist into Armageddon. That may no longer be viable. Like, Geist can't attack profitably through Courser and Tracker. I think I just need to disenchant the Courser this turn. Actually, if I'm going to get Wastelanded, maybe I just play Geist this turn. The Tireless Tracker's still a problem. This Tireless Tracker is going to get huge. Top decking Source of Plowshares like a champ would be great. So here's my line. I'm going to cast something that flies this turn. Then I'm going to plan on disenchanting this on my following turn. And I will give them one turn of, like, disgusting double, like, Exploration Courser or Tireless Tracker Herpaderp combo. Do I have all 4 Source of Plowshares in? Yes. No. So, like, the Spirits deck has some way to protect its creature, but, like, notice how much worse Drogskol Captain is than, like, Mother of Runes by comparison. Like, my defensive creatures don't actually put the brakes on my opponent's offense. So that's going to be the crop rotation for Thespian stage, and then we're in 2020 territory. I'm going to have to, like, chump block with this Drogskol Captain in a turn or so. Everything's awful. I'm going to disenchant this Courser. I don't think I can beat my opponent just going and having, like, tracker exploration clues and like full knowledge about what is on top of their library. I can't beat all of that, so I need to pick it apart piece by piece. So I'll go ahead and play this out here. There's a world where I might try to, like, Mise a win with Armageddon if my opponent, for some reason, does not produce Merit Lodge. But I 100% expect them to just make a tentacle monster. End of turn. Well, that'll prevent them from doing that. At least in the short term. Note, I can't just, like, Armageddon. My opponent has crop rotation in hand, so if I cast Armageddon, they just make a 20/20. Just gonna let that happen. I think this means my opponent either has a second crop rotation, or they're just gonna get a wasteland to blow up my wasteland. Yeah, this was a no... Sorry, I forgot this forest up here was a Thespian stage. This was a no-win situation for me. That's unfortunate. I guess I can see if they're dumb. Alright, they've done it. Let's go to game 3. Had a super clunky hand. Let's see what I can do with a more reasonable hand. Now that I know my opponent has, like, Courser as well as the typical Tireless Trackers, I should probably have the Fourth Swords to Plowshares. And I'll board out one of my random Mausoleum Wanderers for that. Still don't really think I want Thalia. Yeah, so average Nick. So when all these spirits were first released, I worked on this deck a little bit with Paul Lynch, and everything that I was doing just felt kind of clunky. Like, I tried Brainstorm builds, I tried the Thalia builds, and I just couldn't come up with the right balance of things to make this work. Like, I think it has potential. I don't know. Tabernacle's so obnoxious. not presenting anything that resembles a real clock here, which is super unfortunate. I really need to try to, like, press my advantage while my opponent recovers from a mulligan. Hopefully they had a life from the loam-based hand, and this is just going to destroy them. And it won't matter that I can't really do anything meaningful right now. It's a little annoying that I got punished for just, like, floating my mana because Tabernacle is a really annoying card online. No, I didn't really want to Spell Queller that. Like, I know I had the option to, but it did not seem like it was worth my time. Like, the worst thing that my opponent could get there was something like a Maze of Ith. Oh, that's annoying. Note, I'm attacking with my Mausoleum Wanderer into this in hopes that my opponent makes the 20/20 there. So I kind of, like, lose out on 1 point of damage by doing it the way that I've done it here. Oh, they just copied a forest, I see. Well, that's fine. Do I want to counter that? I really just want to disenchant that. Save my Spell Queller for something more meaningful. So follow. This is only like round 2. We're relatively early on in the day. Yeah, you can have exploration. I've got another disenchant for that. So I've got multiple levels of protection against a Merit Lodge. Yeah, opponent's build is a little strange. So opponent should now second main phase tap down my Caracas. Or not. Alright. You can produce a tentacle monster. I will remove it from play with the mana that you gave me. So I have Rest in Peace, so trying again isn't actually all that easy. I will very aggressively Spell Queller almost anything now. But I don't just want to, like, naked put it into play, because, like, doing 4 a turn is nice, but the Spell Queller is my insurance policy against everything that can go wrong going wrong. And I don't want to drop that guard. I'll be very happy once I have this Vial on 3 for double Queller. Round 1, I played against Reanimator Control of blue-black. We ran into infinite Baleful Strixes. Now now that I have like another one of these as backup, I'm fine with just throwing one of these into play. Alright. Now I have a real clock. So I whack for 9 this turn. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'll have my opponent dead in 2 more attacks. Yeah, that was a very good draw. And now my next Spell Queller will also be protected from, like, I don't know, Punishing Fire isn't right, but something of that ilk. Alright. Got through that one. On to round 3. We're 1-1. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what was in my opponent's hand either. Like, they had plenty of cards, but just nothing that was relevant or impactful. So I'm not sure what those were. I don't remember my opponent's exact mana situation, but they did have, like, Dark Depths, Port, Factory, so it's possible... did they have, like, green, for example? So it's possible they could have had things like Courser in their hand that they couldn't have cast. Or, like, Loams that wouldn't have been good with the Rest in Peace that was in play. I think it's going to be stuff of that ilk. Oh, excuse me. Alright, I think my opponent plays Eldrazi. Spell Queller is a sweet card against Eldrazi. It's a little unfortunate that I lost the die roll, because, like, Vile on the draw is insane when it can't get Chaliced. Yeah. A-okay with Matter Reshaper hit and play there. So Thalia doesn't really do much against my opponent's deck. So I'm actually just going to put a Supreme Phantom into play instead of Thalia, even though, like, Thalia can, like, get rid of this Matter Reshaper. If my opponent plays Thought Knot, which is, like, a likely reason why they might have kept their hand, then they're going to take a Spell Queller, and I can have a Spell Queller for their follow-up spell, plus Thalia off Vile the next turn. That's my basic configuration. I have 2 islands, 2 plains. That's going to be very relevant this game. I'm going to need to play around this wasteland for the next turn or so. Ooh, opponent just took the Thalia. That is a bit unusual to me. That's the card in my hand I more or less valued least. I won't be blocking with the Supreme Phantom, so I might as well attack with it. Actually, I could double block the Thought Knots here. So maybe I won't. The 1 damage is not likely to matter very much. My opponent just plays Reality Smasher. I'm just going to lose this one because I lost the die roll. Like, having my Spell Queller up when they would have cast their first Thought Knots here is huge. And Spell Queller can't hit this. It's CMC 4 or less. So I'll get a redraw here off this Thought-Knot Seer, and I'll take it off the table. Well, I actually might be in okay shape. So I can Wasteland my opponent once. Actually, am I the aggro deck now? I can play Drog Skull Captain out, hit for 6. Geez, I think I turned into the aggro deck with that draw. I attack my opponent for 6. And then I kill them on the following turn. Wow. I can also, like, Wasteland an Ancient Tomb to decrease the possibility that they go, like, land into Reality Smasher again. If they draw another Reality Smasher, what happens? So if they go, like, Reality Smasher off of, like, another land, I can vial in a Spell Queller, which will have 4 toughness. I can block 4 of a Smasher, so it's 5, 6, 9, and I win, even if it's Smasher. Yeah, a Walking Ballista for 2 wouldn't beat the Spell Queller. Oh, no, Walking Ballista for 2 wouldn't beat the Spell Queller. I did not expect to turn that one on a dime like that. Well done, Spirits. Well done. Alright. So this is the sort of matchup where I'm probably not going to board that many cards, right? So, like, Swords to Plowshares is good. Armageddon's pretty good. Disenchant's okay, but that's, like, these are all the cards that I would consider. So I'm going to have some medium cards, like Spirit of the Labyrinth and Thalia. And Mausoleum Wanderer is also not that great. Like, they're not going to cast instants or sorceries, so this is just a 1/1 that's likely to get countered by Chalice, unless I have Cavern. Actually, my opponent might be boarding Chalice out, so that's something to consider. So I guess I have to weigh, which do I like more, the 3 power that the Spirit presents on its own, or the flying body of Mausoleum Wanderer? I think it's the 3 power of Spirit. Like, there are going to be a lot of times where I'm going to be looking to, like, gang block their creatures, and Spirit helps with that quite a bit. It's also possible that I should not play Armageddon when I'm on the draw. That's something I could see as well. If I get a head on board, it just basically wins me the game on the spot, though. So I don't hate it. Then we'll just draw it in our opener and not be able to cast it, but it is what it is. I'll submit this. Oh, by the way, like I'm sure you've seen it at the bottom of the screen, but I confirmed with Cyrus that he was interested in doing the guest stream, so he will be my next guest. I don't know when exactly that's going to be, but it's the plan. I'm really looking forward to that. For anyone not following Cyrus, he just got second at Eternal Weekend, playing absolutely spectacularly. Alright, that Ratchet Bomb's really good against my Ether Vial start that I was going to have. But if my opponent blows it on that instead of, like, on multiple of my creatures, like, that's something I have to accept. Opponent's hand very strong so far. Ratchet Bomb for Vial, Thought Not Seer for probably my Drog Skull Captain after they saw what happened last game. Oh yeah, Cyrus certainly won in our hearts. It was like absolutely heartbreaking watching him like break off on that ad nauseum. Among other things, like that. Things that were happening that match were a little unfortunate for him. Some of those counterbalance flips were devastating as well. So I think this is a Rattle Chain's turn, so that I can cast everything else with Flash in the future. It's also possible that my opponent does not blow up my Vial here, and they instead save it for 2s, but that is not the case. So if their plan was to do this, they should have done it before I had the possibility of drawing a 1-drop and putting that into play. But, you know, it is what it is. Alright, thank God they didn't, like, have the perfects and get Reality Smasher as well. What is this? Endless 1 for 5. Alright, well that's terrifying. We are playing Blue-White Spirits. So my opponent has me dead in 2 hits. Do I have them dead in 2 hits? So I take them to 8 this turn. And then next turn, if I play Spirit of the Labyrinth, I can hit them for 5, 6, 7 if I draw a land. So am I playing offensively or defensively here? If I play defensively, I just like flash in Spirit of the Labyrinth on my opponent's turn, double block Thought Not Seer. If I'm playing offensively, I attack for 2, hope that they tap one of their Ancient Tombs, and then hope that I top deck a land in order to kill them. And I'm not sure what the answer is. It's possible that I'm supposed to play defensively. Just hoping that my opponent doesn't see the line that can leave them dead. They know most of my hand. They don't know about the captain, though. So opponent doesn't have a Reality Smasher. Opponent doesn't have Thought Knots here. Like, those would have been better cards to play last turn than Endless 1 for 5. So they might have more Endless ones. Something like a Walking Ballista. Yeah, I think the way I win this game is my opponent's tapping their Ancient Tomb again. Alright. Opponent did not tap the Ancient Tomb. Okay, okay. I really wish I had one more mana. This turn probably needs to start with this play. And I probably need to draw into another land that I can play so that I can deploy Cleric. Ugh. Spirit of the Labyrinth prevented me from drawing that card. Everything is awful. Alright, that one was on me. It's irrelevant, though. Which makes me feel slightly better. Oh, I'll add to that. 100% agree that's a punt. This is one land. This isn't keepable. My opponent has mulligan. I'm going to keep this one. It has double wasteland. Selfless Spirit isn't amazing. Like, it's a creature, which is nice. Like, I have vials. That's how I'm going to win this game, is via vial. But I don't really think I want this. I'd rather, like, find a Lord or something that hits a little bit harder than it. Yeah, like, it hits them. I'm not super impressed by Selfless Spirit here. I'm going to send it to the bottom. Awkwardly, I'm going to show my opponent the wasteland here. I don't want to fetch this. If I can, like, play basics... Fucking Ratchet Bomb, alright. If I can play basics and not have to, fetch Tundra, I'd greatly prefer to do so. If my opponent wants to wasteland me back, I'm actually okay with that. So opponent is going to destroy my vial, and that's fine. Gah! My opponent got the sweet Eye of Ugin value where they have multiples. And I just turn on the second one. Alright, Matter Shaper's fine. Alright, so now I'll have an opportunity to, like, Spell Queller the first Thought-Knot Seer. Or we can Spell Queller that instead, I guess. I really need to, like, put this Spell Queller in play. Like, I know that's not the best target to, like, use this on in this matchup. But I really, really, really need to start clocking my opponent. My hold on this game is very tenuous. Oh, Phil, look at you. You're so smart, holding that Cavern of Souls so you could discard it to Reality Smasher. Oh boy. Alright, I need something else here. If I just break off and draw another land, I'm probably going to die. That's great. Great, 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 great. 100% going to kill Eldrazi Displacer right now. That card... Well, I guess I could wait to see if my opponent, like, draws another Reality Smasher. Ooh, neat. Ooh, no, I probably want to kill it now. Because my opponent can blink Spell Queller. Okay, how does this work? So if my opponent blinks Spell Queller... I'm going to get a Leaves and an Enters trigger. Yeah. They get it. They get it is the short answer. Alright, I'm fine with them just having Sorceress Spyglass here. It shuts off Vials. So be it. I'm just gonna die to this stupid matter reshaper. I guess I have to trade with it. That feels terrible, though. I have 2 more Swords to Plowshares left. I'd much rather trade, like, any card other than Spell Queller for this, because the... like, giving them this Spell Queller means that, like, they get the Ratchet Bomb back, and that can answer my next creature as well. So I don't think I'm willing to accept that trade. Ugh. I'll take 3 more damage. Kind of hope they don't have anything else and that I draw something that matters. Or not. Not is fine as well. Will I go to 1? Going to 1 is shutting off my fetch lands. That's not relevant. It means that a Walking Ballista for 1 kills me. The other thing is that if I just get rid of this Matter Reshaper right now, when my opponent doesn't have lands, there's the potential that it just draws them into a land and unlocks some of the cards in their hand. I'm going to 1. Alright. So it was probably moot if I had traded with that, like this Thought Knot still in play. So now I have to chump block both of these in order to survive, and then I'm just in the abyss because I can't actually kill either one of these. Womp womp. Was not meant to be. Alright, so folks, hello, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site dedicated to legacy, death, and taxes. Today we are playing Blue-White Spirits. We are currently 1 and 2. We're struggling a little bit. Let's see if we can redeem ourselves. But not right now. We'll wait. So my opponent might be playing Storm or D&T. I'm on the play. I only have 1 land. I have to ship this one. Well, this is pretty good. I think I'll keep this Mausoleum Wanderer. I'll put that on top. If my opponent's D&T, I have like turn 2 play Jitte, Violin, Mausoleum Wanderer, connect with Jitte on turn 3. if my opponent's playing Storm, I get turn 2 Spirit and then play the Mausoleum Wanderer off Bile, and that's pretty strong. Our opponent can be like red-black Reanimator. Goodbye, Spirit. I will miss you. I can nug something with Mausoleum Wanderer at some point. It's a bit of a combo with Jitte, I suppose. This only gets instants or sorceries, right? Yeah. So I can't get, say, an Animate Dead with it, but I can stop a Faithless Looting or an Entomb, which puts the creature in the graveyard in the first place. The hope here is really to get lucky by a turn or two with Mausoleum Wanderer. Chromox. Oh, geez. We are just like playing against Storm, maybe, still. So I can counter that unless they pay 1. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to try to hit them at a critical moment. Ball Ritual. Yeah, that happens. If their last card is like they're going for is Adnaz, then I feel great. Alright, so this is just empty. I think I just beat that. Alright. So, math. So I block one of these. I'll take 11, I'll go down to 9. My next turn, I block 2 of these, and then start gaining life. Or removing them. Yeah, I think I beat this. Or I guess I'll only block one of them on following turns. All right, so I can block, kill 2 goblins. There's no creatures there, or no non-creatures there. So I block 1, kill 2 goblins, take 8, go to 1. Yeah, this is going to be fine. So now I effectively can attack, have 8 life worth of life gain available with Jitte. And it's probably better to just play Thalia here. Just 100% guarantee no shenanigans off the top. Although moving Jitte is probably fine too. I guess moving Jitte is actually probably just better for this turn. And then I'll play Thalia next turn. Both caverns are spirit. You make a good point. You make a good point. Yeah, they are both spirit. All right, so there's 7 coming through. So I'll gain life. I'll gain life. I'll gain life. And then with the last one, since I can make it just 6 coming through, I'll go ahead and kill a goblin. Alright, so now I effectively am going to have 8 life queued up. So I'm not in any danger of dying. I'll probably just make the same play again of attack with Jitte once and then move the Jitte and pass the turn. Opponent can still easily win, right? Like, opponent can just, like, cast a tiny, tiny, tiny tendrils and kill me. Yeah, there's a weird sort of humor to, like, just moving this Jitte around to kill everything my opponent is doing. My opponent didn't shuffle, so they found something they like, although it could just be another cantrip. For red, red, red? Are they just gonna, like, empty again? Burning Wish. Grape Shot. How do I see what these are targeting? Oh, it's just me for all of them. So I can go up to 4, block 1, and then die. That's unfortunate. Alright, so we will force, we will fluster, and maybe surgical, not rest in peace. I don't want swords to plowshares. Even though it was really good that game, I probably don't want this Jitte. And then I probably want to cut some of this slower end stuff. Like, I don't need a generic beater like Geist. Like, it's fine. Like, it's 6 damage a turn, but this stuff will probably be killing just fine. And then I guess I'll cut the Kira. Like, the Lord just gives a buff as well, which seems fine. I have a Force and a Thalia. Keep. Though slightly awkward together. Note that I'm probably going to be able to play around Massacre this game, so I'm very likely to do so. If my opponent thought seizes me, I will probably just force it. Yeah. So we'll name Soldier with this. I'm not sure, but some of my spirit friends might be soldiers. So now we have a decent disruptive clock with some degree of protection for our Thalia. It's not, like, super real protection, because, like, a negative effect can still get it, like Massacre, or a bounce spell like Chain of Vapor or Echoing Truth can still get it. But if my opponent is playing something like Fatal Pushes, it beats those. And it stops, like, the red base removal, like Grape Shot, from just getting it. Kinda would like to draw another disruptive piece here. Or something else to help close this game. Like, 4 damage a turn is fine, but there's plenty of time to draw out of that. Ugh. Hopefully opponent is sitting there thinking we're just sitting on a bunch of spell quellers. Again, not gonna fetch with this Mesa. It'll give me a Plains. I don't want that. I have nothing to do with the mana anyway. Duress. Joke's on you, my hand is garbage. Woo! Now if opponent fetches, they are dead on board. Yes. Yes. Got him. On the draw, I might take this Jitte to have more game versus goblins. And just cut one of the random Drog Skull captains. Actually, maybe a Supreme Phantom. If I get to the point where I'm casting one of these cards, it's probably not turn 2 anyway. So just having the one that also gets hexproof is huge upside. This is an aggro hand. Spirit of the Labyrinth is only kind of medium versus this deck. I'd rather have, like, Force, Fluster, Thalia over it. So I'm going to ship this one. So, if I draw a land, this is basically the best possible hand. However, if my opponent thought seizes me and takes this file, my hand is garbage. Or if I miss the land, this hand is garbage. So I think that means I'm going to 5. Well, this is worse than my 7 was. At this point, do I just keep this hand because it has lands? And I try to scry for a relevant hate card? Or do I go further? I feel like this is the point of reluctant keep. But it is not good. Hey! I'll take that. So I'm hoping that my opponent, like, thought seizes me turn 1, takes by Vial, and then think it's safe to go off on turn 2, and I just absolutely hose them with Flusterstorm. Oh man, I think the exact scenario I'm wanting to happen is happening. Opponent shuffled with that Ponder. So now we have Flusterstorm up when if my opponent doesn't try to go off, I just Rattle Chains. opponent might be deciding whether to go off or whether to like take another turn to duress. Note, I'm not taking the first ritual here. The only way I get punished for this is if they have, like, duress into, like, another ritual and keep going. But, like, with how bad my hand is, I'm not favored if I just, like, counter that and take the 1-for-1. I need to extract more value. I don't have a clock. I don't have anything resembling a clock. Not even a sundial or hourglass. It's not that hard. Cast spells. Please. I want to die. Our opponent does have duress. That's fine. They get the Flusterstorm here. I'm not going to cast it and add to their storm count. I hope I draw something like super backbreaking here. That doesn't count as super backbreaking. Jazzy, this deck also plays basic planes, so no, you want to split. So I know my opponent has another Dark Ritual. I probably want to counter this Dark Ritual, or like try to counter this Dark Ritual. Because if my opponent pays, they pay with their bulk, and that might take them off of a color. Otherwise, if it just like trades for a Dark Ritual and my opponent passes the turn, great for me. My opponent's also playing relatively slowly, so I'm not sure how proficient they actually are with Storm. Note, I'm not going to play out my vial here. I don't want them to know that I have nothing. I'd much rather have them, like, fearing a spell queller. I'm going to pause here like I'm thinking about countering this brainstorm. Alright, so my opponent Burning Wishes. We'll see for what? For Past Inflames. Okay. There's no justice. I want to note that I think it's super incorrect to try and go off here if my opponent does not actually have a discard spell to use at the beginning of the turn. Like, they're on a 5-turn clock. It's clear that I don't have much pressure. But if I have like a spell queller and they go for this, they're basically going to lose the game on the spot. So I think that was kind of poor. I obviously can't punish them. But I think it's probably worth waiting a turn. Chromox to build Storm here is a little rough. I was really worried they weren't going to be able to get Hellbent. Holy shit, cast that fucking cantrip. Cast it and draw a damn land. Did they play a land yet? Alright. So now my opponent has enough mana to just tendrils me out. Womp womp. Alright, let's go into the last one here. We have failed to cash this Legacy League with Spirits. So for anyone who doesn't know me, hello, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University. Today we're streaming with Blue-White Spirits. We tend to play a lot of like Aether Vial, Chalice, sort of like non-blue controlling decks on this channel. Although we do quite a bit of variety. So we've got Saturday's stream lined up. It's going to be Waterfalls, 3 to 4 color Cascade featuring Bloodbraid Elf and Shardless Agent. Although I have not planned out the week that follows yet. I have not received any donation deck lists for next week, so I might just kind of end up playing whatever I want if I don't get anything. Otherwise, if I get some donation deck lists, those will be thrown up into the queue immediately. Thank you all for watching me tonight. There ended up being like an absurd number of legacy streams tonight. Like Nola Gold is streaming, Anurag's streaming, Julian was streaming a bit earlier. So thanks for spending your time here. If I was going to have some fun doing a tribal stream, Slivers is a fan favorite. I really like playing Slivers. The deck's like really interactive and strange. I'd say like my top choices would probably be Slivers and Humans. Although if you want me to go off the deep end and just like try something kooky, then Wizards is something I'd be willing to mess around with. I think Raskif is one of the people who's watching me right now. Yeah, so I want to play first. This hand looks very good. So Lasco, this Saturday is going to be Waterfalls, but I would be 100% fine with a donation for the Saturday that follows. That would be awesome. So this should all be 11s, but 11-17 would be fine. Okay. I don't know what my opponent's playing. I'm just going to lead on the Tundra. I don't really know that I want to fetch a basic yet. Like, I could fetch basic Island here, but then if my opponent has a Wasteland for this Tundra, I just get taken off of white anyway. So I'm pretty likely to just take a Tundra with this Flooded Strand. Oh, did I not switch back? Sorry about that. Alright, Force, exiling Teferi. It looks like we're playing against Miracles. So I have to be cognizant of back to basics. So I will go ahead and just fetch an Island. Actually, I should probably fetch a Plains because I have more fetches that fetch Island. But the blue is more important to me. Like, I have more blue cards. I'm going to take the Island. Yeah, Thalia not a spirit, so it doesn't get pumped by all my fun things that I have. At my opponent's end step, I'll be fine casting a Rattle Chains. Yeah, I can't protect this with Rattle Chains, unfortunately. Nonbo. I don't feel super good about this matchup, by the way. Alright, so I feel kind of like my opponent has a Terminus on top of their library. They paused in their draw step before. And if that just means Terminus, I don't really want to commit another creature to the board. My creatures also have Flash. Yeah, well, I should say my non-Thalia creatures also have Flash. Ole Boy Merlin, thank you very much for hosting. I appreciate your support. I hope your evening is going well. So now I'm going to try to play patiently, have like a Rattle Chains to protect my Rattle Chains. So we're not cashing this league, but it's an okay night. I'm playing Legacy, so can't ask for too much more. So I don't actually want to like play out Thalia and hold up Rattle Chains. That's a draw 2. Do I care about you drawing cards? I guess it's relevant. It's a little punishing if my opponent's last card is Counterspell. Alright, well, I'm okay with the Force Pitch Force there. My opponent can have 2 cards. They're pretty solid. Maybe they're okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot of very positive things about Magic Arena. I'm almost exclusively a Legacy player myself. So I'm not necessarily like messing around with it personally. But there's a lot of good there. I can wasteland my opponent, but I think I'm better off just, like, playing Thalia and holding up Spell Queller and Rattle Chains. You can ponder. Yeah, I don't blame people for selling out of Magic at various times or, like, switching what platform you're playing on. Like, I offloaded a huge portion of my paper collection because I was mostly playing online. No, my opponent's turn on my turn. So end of combat, I'll go ahead and pick off a land. Keep my opponent constrained. And then pass the turn. And then essentially, unless they use a removal spell, I'm not going to cast either one of these cards. In game one, my opponent is not going to have any red cards. I guess I take it back. Alright, so we're playing against Miracles. I'll want Armageddon. Flusterstorms are fine. Disenchant, Surgical Force are cards that I would accept playing, but I don't think are particularly good. Nahiri is a card that I think is of modern power level. Like, I played it a bit in blue-white-red control decks there, and it was quite good. But, like, you can be playing, like, Jason Teferi and such, and Gideon. Like, why would you want Nahiri? So, I don't hate the idea of, like, surgical on removal spells in this matchup. I don't usually do that as D&T, but I kind of have, like, fewer ways of, like, manipulating my opponent's resources. Like, I don't have equipment to constrain them, and I don't have, like, ports and such. So keeping that in mind, I don't hate this. But a lot of my cards just seem to be okay versus miracles, like Supreme Phantom's about the worst of the lot. I could drop down to 21 lands and play the Surgical. That's not the worst idea. I don't really think I want to drop any creatures for it. These games probably go long enough that I'll draw land. Well, this hand has Armageddon, so I'm going to keep. I know what I'm about. But more generally, we get to play like Spirit into Drogskull Captain, and that's sweet. Whew. Actually, it's very possible that like if my opponent is just going to have Source of Plowshares or something, that I shouldn't just main phase this Spirit. But the upside of doing so, if my opponent doesn't have it, is very high. So let's jam. So this is kind of neat. I can play Rattle Chains into Mausoleum Wanderer at instant speed, which I think I'll do. And I'm still going to go ahead and cast this here, because I'd love to set up some small amount of protection for my Armageddon. And if my opponent does any sort of fighting here, great. Really sad I missed on my land there. I think I'm just going to get Terminus, so I don't really want to play out another creature. Ooh, no Terminus. Well then. Good news for Phil fans. Casting Spirit of the Labyrinth there would have been fine. I'm not used to playing this deck. I'm not used to the fact that I can do this at instant speed yet. I was kind of fixated on like what I was intending to do. So like it was my intention to go and play the Drog Skull Captain end of turn to like force some action on my opponent's end. And then have like all my stuff protected. Alright, there's the land for my Armageddon. Oh yeah, if I would have been like paying full attention, I 100% would have cast Spirit of the Labyrinth. I was not. I'm kind of on autopilot at this point. Like I already haven't cashed this stream, and I felt pretty good about my position. So I was not thinking fully. Swords to Plowshares, that guy. Yeah, that's fine. All right. It appears that opponent does not have lands. That is unfortunate for them. It's really unfortunate that my opponent conceded there. On like another turn down the road, I was going to tell them that I was going to concede to them since I was dead for prizes, but it is what it is. All right, why don't we debrief the deck a little bit? So kind of what I was afraid about at the beginning was of the stream was that we weren't as disruptive as Death and Taxes, and we weren't as aggressive as Merfolk, and that we were kind of doing a middling job at both of those things, and that might be fair. I didn't feel particularly bad while playing this deck, but I didn't feel particularly great either. I guess, like, I'm having trouble conceptualizing why I would want to play this deck over other established archetypes. So let me move some cards around. So we've got these that give hexproof, these that protect against some removal spell. These are a little bit protective. And these are a little bit protective. So, like, I guess some of this stuff can help you to fight against some of the removal-dense decks. But, like, for something like Grixis Control, they're going to have Baleful Strix, and that card is such a beating for this deck. Ooh. Yeah, so, Cervex, Eddie's actually writing an article for me for Thraben University. It's been taking him a little while to get it done, but I am actively doing some collaboration with him. He got really caught up in some work stuff, so he's working on it again now, but probably within a week or two there will be something up on Thraben University by him. I'm very likely to mess around with humans, 4-color loam, and D&T on this channel on days where I don't have donation deck lists. So, I know, like, some of the non-bows came up in this deck a couple of times, like, most notably, like, Thalia is just an insane magic card, but it doesn't synergize with the rest of the deck. It doesn't grow the Wanderer. It doesn't grow you can't use it. Rattle Chains doesn't protect it, is what I'm trying to say. Neither does, like, the Drog Skull Captain. So, I still feel like this deck is, like, a spirit or two away from being good. Like, Mausoleum Wanderer is fine. Rattle Chains is fine, but, like, I'm not super impressed with Supreme Phantom. Like, it's a lord, but, like, if you just want to bash, Merfolk is a better bashing deck. If you want moving parts, D&T and Slivers are better moving parts decks. So I feel like this is kind of, like, gearing to be this, like, anti-control deck, but then I don't have any way to get true card advantage. Like, I have all this, like, tempo-based card advantage, but nothing true. You know, nothing in here says draw a card. There's nothing like Recruiter of the Guard to, like, really push me ahead. So, I don't know. I feel like the deck is a little lacking. Maybe it's the way that I put together the sideboard as well, but I don't feel like the sideboard's too great. To just, like, pull up a couple of different deck lists to show you what I mean. There were 2 Blue-White Spirits decks that I found when I was going and looking at them. So, like, my sideboard was kind of a combination of the two. Here was the original donation deck list sideboard. And it's kind of an assortment of effects. I nixed a lot of the stuff from this sideboard because I thought, like, getting the white-white would be tricky. So I dropped the Cataclysm and the Council's Judgment from this deck list that were originally here. And similarly, I thought Eidolon of Rhetoric, even though it was a spirit, is, like, just slower than, like, Aethersworn Canonist. And Canonist can be hard to cast if you're going to, like, a higher Cavernous Souls count to be good with the spirits. So I removed that and just played Flusters instead. And, like, looking at the other version, here's the other version that was played in the Legacy Challenge. And again, the sideboard is kind of mediocre. You either end up playing, like, these off-spirit cards to fill out your sideboard, or powerful cards that are a little bit difficult to cast. I did like the Divert and Spell Snares in this list, but I decided I didn't want to play more Instants and Sorceries with my Thalia. So I feel like this deck list is close. I don't feel like this is something that I'd be comfortable at taking past like the FNM level as stands. But this would be a tribe that I would have my eye on in the future to see, you know, what can we do with this tribe? Because one more like disruptive spirit might be enough to push it over the edge. This is also a deck that I could see being very good at certain times. So like, say there's just a ton of graveyard decks running around, you can just go and play like 4 Remorseful Clerics and drop like these Selfless Spirits or something like that, and just have like a very good main deckable graveyard hate card that also happens to beat opponents to death. So, not disappointed to play this. My overall impression is kind of lukewarm, but it was fun. Minus that Baleful Strix round. That first round where we just, like, tried to get through 4 or 5 Baleful Strix, and it was just impossible. Other than that round, everything else felt pretty reasonable. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a night, although I'm going to send you over to someone else who is going to be streaming some Legacy. Momentarily, I'm going to send you over to Nola Gold, who I think is streaming with Parfait right now to celebrate something or other. So again, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University. You can see me on stream here every Monday and Wednesday night. Oh man, Jody's done? Alright, well, I will host someone else then. I'll host some Blue Red Delver. Alright, so again, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University. I'm currently working on an article for the site. A lot of people keep asking me about like what I'm doing for tournament prep and like how did I make my testing experience better. And I've talked about that stuff on stream a lot, but I never like articulated it in an article form. So I'm writing that up with a bunch of like links to help people prepare and whatnot. So expect that out maybe next week. Eddie Zamora is also working on Humans article for me, which will get done eventually, probably within the next week or two as well. I will be back on Saturday morning, probably around 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time with some 3 or 4 color Cascade. I'll have to put together a deck list, and I hope you enjoy it. If you like my content, please follow my channel. I'm streaming Legacy about 3 days a week, sometimes 4. And if you really like my content, please consider doing a donation deck list to push me closer and closer to our next goal, and to keep me motivated to keep making the best content that I can. Cheers, folks, and have a good night.